Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studios. We continue to celebrate so many amazing people across the state of Mississippi who are working in the trenches to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Listen, Adele Lyons from the Chamber is going to be joining me here in just a second. I wanted to share with you, in fact, this is something that Adele and I will talk about, that Jamie Miller and I had the opportunity to be involved toward the end of the program for the Leadership Gulf Coast class, this most recent class, and we went over to Ocean Arrows at the State Port of Gulfport and spent some time with the class, and we talked about the challenges and the future of the coast economy. And I wanted to share. Obviously, I won't tell you everything we talked about because it'd take a whole show to do it. But I just wanted to share a couple of the high points that I shared with the group. That if you're a regular listener to this show, none of this will surprise you at all. But it is a great opportunity for us to focus on why programs like Leadership Gulf Coast are so critical. But right off the bat, I established something I say on the show all the time, that the coast of Mississippi is an economic engine for the state. It's one of the most important. It is an economic engine that is not debated. It's critical to the state. So it's not just important to us, but it's critical to the state. But you think about tourism and gaming and shipbuilding and the blue economy and so many aspects of our economy, we're really doing well in a lot of ways. But we face some big challenges. I think one of the biggest challenges we face, just in terms of looking at the overall economy, is that we have a lot of eggs in a couple of really important baskets. For example, that gaming and shipbuilding are two very key industries here in coastal Mississippi, and we're very reliant on their success. That's not to say that Stennis Space Center and what happens there in the blue economy and what's happening there and Chevron and what's happening there aren't important. But I think one of the things that we have to realize is that in order for us to reach our ultimate goals, we have to make ourselves less vulnerable on key segments of our economy. An area where we always have big conversations is workforce development. The skills gaps that exist, and really the worker shortages that exist in coastal Mississippi, especially as it relates to like technology and advanced manufacturing. These are really important. I listed infrastructure as an important need. I'm not just talking about things like roads and bridges, while that is obviously still important. But I'm talking about creating an environment that really attracts industry here, and I'm drawn to the efforts of Joe Max Higgins up in the Golden Triangle Development Link and the work that they're doing. Do you know, and if you're a regular listener, you already know this, that they have done multiple mega sites, and they will spend over $50 million on a single mega site. That involves getting rail and infrastructure and power and whatever else is necessary. Betting on the come. They really don't know what industry is going to be attracted to that site, but they're literally placing those bets, and they are betting big on it. I think that's something we should be talking about here in coastal Mississippi. Environmental issues. We're always going to be, because we're a coastal community, we're always going to be focused on balancing economic growth with the environment. I mean, there's a lot of tourism, fishing, quality of life, all those things that we know. And there's some kinds of industries we don't want here, and we probably ought to be a little bit clearer about that as we go forward. What's the best fit for industries here in coastal Mississippi? So many opportunities, innovation and technology. Of course, we met at Ocean Arrow. What a great example of innovation here in coastal Mississippi. Anything we can do to encourage and to help innovative companies like Ocean Arrow, we should do. And that's a real good opportunity for us. We're always going to be talking about tourism expansion, what we can do to increase the number of tourism offerings, which obviously helps increase the quality of life here as well. Cultures and festivals and natural attractions that are part of being a coastal community, these things are all important, and we should continue to market those and work hard to make this a year-round destination resort. And then public-private partnerships, whether it's through like the Coast Chamber and the various chambers of coastal Mississippi, or regional organizations like the Gulf Coast Business Council, the relationship between local governments and businesses and educational institutions. I mean, I can't overstate how important that is, and that collaboration is really important, which leads me to what I believe is our biggest challenge, and that is we don't have enough leaders that get it. Now, one of the strengths of coastal Mississippi is we're a collection of towns and 3 coastal counties, and it creates wonderful diversity and wonderful senses of places that exist in each of those communities. So that is, that's a real plus for coastal Mississippi. That's an advantage for us. But it's interesting. An advantage can also simultaneously be a disadvantage. Because of the number of governmental subdivisions we have here in coastal Mississippi, it's kind of hard to get everybody on the same page. And so we need leaders who understand the complexity of what I just said, how to communicate with that. We need leaders who will raise the bar, like we saw after Hurricane Katrina, that are willing to burn the midnight oil, who will push on a regional level to help us dream bigger, to help us have goals that are audacious. And so if we're going to address the challenges we have in coastal Mississippi, I think our number one challenge is leadership. We've got to have more, better, stronger leaders. And that's why the Gulf Coast Leadership Program and programs like it are so darn critical. And we went on to have a conversation after that, but that was my basic message to the leadership group. Now let's move over to my friend Adele Lyons, who I have served in the trenches with in so many different dimensions of our public lives and our private lives, for that matter. And someone I have a lot of respect for. She's the CEO of the the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber. Adele, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, Ricky. Thanks for joining the Leadership Gulf Coast class and helping with that economic day. We try to cover so much in one day of all the various industries, and they do a variety of visits and tours, including the port, as you mentioned, and Ocean Aero, and small businesses. They start the day at Ground Zero, downtown development to really help revive downtown Biloxi. And so just covered a facet. So thanks for being a part.
Well, I'm pleased to be there. And I thought the way the program for that day was structured was terrific, because you think about, Haley Barbour, you heard him say it a bunch after Hurricane Katrina. The federal government can help people get back on their knees, but it's private investment that's going to get us back on our feet. And when you can think of the kind of investments that have taken place in downtown Biloxi, just as an example, we could speak to every single community in this way, because there's been a tremendous amount of private investment that has happened. But, there's no commercial land available in downtown Biloxi right now. The amount of development that is happening right now, mixed-use development, entertainment, you name it, is bringing tremendous, tremendous value to downtown Biloxi. And then you think about Ocean Aero, which I've already mentioned, what they're doing with their autonomous, units, and they're deploying them all around the world. What a great cross-section to understand what it takes to make a community like ours tick. Of course, getting a look at the gaming community, of course, and other aspects of the economy. But these are all important attributes that a leader must possess, an understanding and some perspective on what it takes to make a complex region like ours tick. And you guys sometimes you do a program over and over again, you lose a little bit of the steam. But the Leadership Gulf Coast program has only gotten stronger over the years after all of these years. It's amazing to watch that, isn't it?
Yeah, there are some, I guess I'm going to call sacred cows. We've done a tour of the port every single year since the beginning, 30 plus years ago. But that's one of the things that you can see from afar, but you can't really see it up close without having a tour, which they don't do all the time. It's a safety issue and security issue as well there. So for our class to be able to have that type of inside look is something that we've done again and again. But, Ocean Aero didn't exist 30-something years ago for us to visit them. And so, also USM and their role in the blue economy and what they're doing as part of the day. There at Ground Zero, you mentioned, we were there and it's a small business, hearing about that. But that's where, straight from the horse's mouth, with gaming, Brandon Dardo from the Beau Rivage comes in and talks about gaming. Here's, one of our bigger facilities on the coast, a national gaming, a national entertainment organization, and to hear from him about gaming, et cetera, really is hones down what's going on. Again, we can't touch on every single thing, but then some of the other days do. So Military Day is certainly an economic driver, the military on the coast, but we have a military day. We have Education Day. quality of life day, but they all touch on each other. No, none of them are just separate in and of itself. But it's been great. And just for folks who don't know, Leadership Gulf Coast is run through the Coast Chamber. It is an application process which will open up in the spring, in April, I believe, sometime time frame. The class gets selected in June, and they start back with their monthly 9 months worth of programs, 1 day a week, in September. So, you got a little time if you're interested. Keep an eye out for that.
We're visiting with my friend Adele Lyons, who's CEO of the Coast Chamber. And when we come back, there's a lot to talk about. We haven't talked in a while. We'll remind you, what some of the major goals are for the Coast Chamber. Got new leadership about to come in. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I have Adele Lyons, who's CEO for the Coast Chamber. We were talking about the Leadership Gulf Coast effort. And before we lead this, I just want to talk a little bit more about leadership in general. This point that I made, of course, I should point out, you and I have worked together with Knight Foundation. We worked together when you were at Habitat, with the Chamber. You volunteered in so many different other organizations over the course of your career. You've been in the community for a long time, and you have good sense of this. But the more we learn, and I get the opportunity, thank God, on this show every single day to meet new people and to have conversations about new challenges and opportunities and whatever. So you never arrive at a point where you say, okay, I completely now understand what we need in terms of leadership, because that's constantly changing, and new leaders come to the table and help us raise the goals a little bit higher, and people contribute in different ways, et cetera. But I can't overstate, can I, that coastal Mississippi is a very complex place when you think about the political subdivisions, the number of people that you have to go to be able to sell, big ideas. And that's why we need leaders who understand that, who have the ability to communicate, who really get what it takes to succeed. And you've seen that throughout your entire career, haven't you?
Yeah, Ricky, that's where you look at things like Coast Young Professionals that we didn't exist prior. I started working, right after I got out of college. So I was 25 years old over at the Small Business Incubator as the executive director there, trying to help people start business. And, we pretty much had to figure it out on our own. There wasn't a group. The Chamber was there, and I joined the Chamber pretty early in my career. That was something that we were trying to connect with the business community. That was the way to do it. But you kind of had to figure things out a little bit on your own. Hopefully you had a good mentor. Hope you had some good leaders in your life that could kind of guide you along and help you. I think we see younger people get more involved in the community earlier now, and they do have some paths to that. There's junior leadership programs in the community. There's, a whole just different path they can take. Back for women, I remember, when I joined the Rotary Club in, I guess, 1993, there was a handful of us. I think Kathy Springer and Liz Joachim and some of those over at the Biloxi Chamber. And so now there's so many other paths for women to take to get into leadership roles more quickly. Minorities as well, for a long time, we just didn't have as much of a diverse number of folks involved. And so we've seen that, but the more people you get involved, the more different walks of life, the more different industries, more different geographies. It does get a little more complicated, but you got to have it. I mean, you have to have those folks at the table, and the more and more we can get them involved. Every day when somebody new joins the Coast Young Professionals, that's exciting for us. That's a new person that's saying, hey, I want to figure this out. I want to be part of this. I don't want to sit on the sidelines till it's my time, which is maybe a little bit later in life. They want in now. So it's interesting. And when we have folks in Leadership Gulf Coast, you saw it's a diverse group from one side to the other. I mean, for sure, different industries, different folks in a variety of communities, ages, to try to have it diverse on purpose, because we want that group to really see it from all sides.
Yeah. I mean, that is so critical. So many opportunities going forward for people to be engaged. And as I talk about on this show all the time, that it takes Man, it takes a village to make a community like ours tick. People fill in the gaps in so many different ways. All the nonprofits, all the volunteer efforts, churches. I mean, good Lord. I mean, it takes a lot. And, that we've had, and to some extent, and you and I have discussed this before, but Katrina provided an opportunity for us to engage every dimension simultaneously and really understand the resilience and the capacity of coastal Mississippi. And thank goodness we had it. But we'll get hit again, and we'll have to engage it again, and we'll have big challenges again in the future that we need leaders to come together on. And that's why helping the leaders understand, what it looks like to be a leader in this community, it cannot be overemphasized. And that's one of the reasons why, when I was at the Sun Herald, we started the Sun Herald Leadership Awards, now called the One Coast Awards. We wanted to bring attention to the people who are leading so people could hold them up as an example. You and I have had numerous shows about this. But the One Coast Award is a terrific opportunity to not just recognize people, but to really show them examples of people who are making the decision to get in the arena and make a difference. And it's really been successful, hasn't it?
Been very successful. We currently have the nominations are open right now through January 23rd. It's a one-page nomination. It is so simple. People can go to our website and find that on our Facebook page. You could call the office. We could forward one to you. But this helps by having this open nomination. This helps us really try to capture people from all walks of life. I can't know everybody. Not everybody's a member of the chamber. Not everybody's in my circle or in even the board of directors circles. So we want to cast a wide net as we can to have those nominations. The nominees then fill out an application where they talk about what they've done, the impact they've had, what work they've been involved with in the community. And then, unfortunately, we have to narrow that down to 10 people. And there's so many more, but, 10 community leaders, 10 under 40. And then the event is always held at the Beau Rivage. It's on April 15th this year. And when you sit in there, as you have over the years, you just think sooner or later we're going to run out. Sooner or later, there's not going to be people for us to recognize. But there's not, because like we said, there's new people that are getting in the game. And so that's always a bright spot. I know you like to have the recipients on your show so you can talk to them about their different aspects of their life and what part of leadership they're playing in the community. So I really encourage people to nominate folks. It's always, that person should have got it. Or people even say, gosh, I thought that person would have got it a long time ago. Somebody's got to nominate them. So, give us a call. Let us get those nomination forms to you.
And it's, again, speaking of the region, it's a great collaboration between the Jackson County Chamber, the Ocean Springs Chamber, the Hancock County Chamber, and the Coast Chamber. And you work with Tish and Cynthia and Paige so closely on that. And it's stood the test of time. And again, great recognition. So if you know someone that you think is worthy of recognition, please nominate them. And let us hold them up as an example. We want others to be inspired by their work in the community. And that's the way you build capacity in a community. So One Coast Awards has played a huge role in that. Anything else on that before we shift gears?
No, just again, the nominations are so important. And then coming to the event is really a great way to start your day. You will, on April 15th, I believe I said it was. Yeah. It's a great way to start your day because you're hearing from all these folks and the great things that they've done. And, it's interesting. There'll be people you're like, I don't even know this person. I know this person was on the coast and they've been here for years doing good work behind the scenes or that we didn't know about. Just can't be a better day.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. So, okay. A lot of activities are going on right now, but for people who have not heard you and me talk before, give them a sense of the goals of the Coast Chamber these days.
Well, the mission of the chamber is 4 words, real simple: connect, inform, advocate, and develop. So everything we do is around that. So connecting business leaders, connecting businesses to each other so they can do business together. We want people to shop local, do business local. It's just a great way to find resources to be a chamber member, to come to events and meet new folks. We certainly want to inform folks of what's going on. That's where we'll have things like breakfast with the mayor, or last year we had Congressman Ezell in. We might have somebody from, the port or the airport giving updates to provide information about what's happening in the community. We certainly also, from a standpoint of business and professional education. So we've done last year, right at the end of the year, we did a social media. We had Thomas Broadus come back in town. He's now at Mississippi State as their communication officer. He came in and gave a great presentation. That's always changing. Social media, of course, has changed the way you have to communicate your organization, your business, and yourself. We certainly want to advocate for small business. Just did that a couple of weeks ago up in Jackson with the legislative reception. The chamber helps organize that with some other business organizations like the other chambers you mentioned and community leaders. I bet we had 1,500 people in that room, easy. It was the biggest crowd I've ever seen at that event. Standing room only, and it's a big room. Big room, and it was packed solid. A lot of legislators from around the state come and participate in that. So other events like that where we can advocate for small business. We got small business grant programs. A lot of events, and we say it's like a gym membership. You only get out of the chamber what you put in. If you don't show up, you're not gonna gain that muscle. Come gain some business muscle and be a chamber member. I think people will find it's really worth their while.
That's awesome. In fact, there's some upcoming events, but I want to circle back a little bit about the Gulf Coast Legislative Reception. This is the stalwart event for the legislature. It kicks off the legislative session, and so many people are there. It's a who's who in Mississippi politics and Mississippi leadership. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Adele Lyons. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. I have my friend Adele Lyons, the CEO of the Coast Chamber. And we were just talking about the role that the chamber plays. And what, it's interesting is you give those 4 words, which I think do capture terrifically well what the chamber is all up, what it's all about. What I know is, and I say this all the time, this is not your father's chamber. You're into community building in ways we would have never imagined before. It's so much clearer, isn't it, that the role the chamber can play in the community by bringing leaders together the way you do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great way. We'll have some people that are there that have been around for a number of years and are well seasoned. And then you'll see someone who's new to the community, new to the business community. Maybe they've retired. Maybe they're one of the young professionals. And they're just soaking it up like a sponge of what they can gain from the folks that they're now have an association with. And so it's just a lot of connections. It's a lot of networking and connections and just building off of that.
Well, listen, I mentioned we just kind of circle back a little bit. The legislative reception in Jackson on January the 8th at the Trade Mart was, the pinnacle event, the kind of kick off the legislative session. As I mentioned, politicos are there, state leaders are there, and as you point out, you've never seen more there than you saw more there than ever. I've never missed it when I was growing up at the Sun Herald and I was published with the Sun Herald. You had to go, you had to be there, and the conversations, both informal and formal, that take place are goodness gracious important to coastal Mississippi. You see that clearly, don't you?
Yeah, I tell you, the doors open at 5:30. We got people standing there at 5 o'clock waiting to get in the door. We do a real fun coast Mardi Gras theme. Lots of local seafood there. So as far as from a party atmosphere, you can't ask for better. But the number of people that are there milling around, everybody from state leaders, Michael Watson stood at that door and invited folks in and welcomed them as, a state elected official from the coast. And then we had others. I met a lot of different representatives and senators from around the state that you wouldn't have that opportunity. And then then we had to really chase people out. The event's over with and folks are still hanging around. But it really has worked out well that the next day, MEC, Mississippi Economic Council, has their Capital Day, where people can kind of tag team on that and go to that event the next day, which includes some speakers directly from the state. The governor, of course, spoke. The lieutenant governor, the speaker of the House are there as well. So it works out really well that you can have really the social side and the connection that the coast puts on. And like you said, it's not to be missed. Everybody in Jackson goes to this event. I mean, I'm telling you, Jackson must have been empty. Everybody was at the Trade Mart. It was packed.
Which is great for coastal Mississippi, which brings attention to the reality that a lot of folks know that the collaborations that occur around coastal Mississippi are really, really, really important to this state. One more time, the deadline for the One Coast Awards are 4:00 Thursday, January 23rd, right? Did I write that down right?
That's it. And
if you know somebody to nominate, please do it. So one pager. It's really simple to do it. It's important. Yep. We want to find people. Our community wants to find people that we don't know about that are doing amazing work, and we want to find people we know about. There are always surprises in those awards, aren't there?
Yeah. We've had in the past some military retirees, folks who've either were stationed here and came back to the community that, of course, don't stop there. They get back involved in the community. They're doing things. The one gentleman I'm thinking of was involved in a lot of youth programs with the Salvation Army. We've had other folks that have been here for a long time and got right up into, being involved in the community. I think it was a couple years ago, I remember people saying, Shorty Sneed hadn't received this award before. And I was like, no. So, he got recognized. And then it's some other young folks that you might recognize a family name or, they're from a company that's been around for a long time, but they've gotten energized and gotten involved. And we want to recognize that.
It's very cool. Listen, the rest of this is going to be rapid fire, but
okay.
You got so many different ways for people to engage in the community. And one is the speed networking that takes place. It's actually Thursday, January 24th, this coming Thursday. So
yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, speed networking is really cool. Two people sit across from each other. They talk for a minute each. We blow a whistle. You get up and move to somebody else. You move to somebody else. So you're making some real quick connections in the room, but you have business cards where you can do follow-up. People love this event. High energy. The room is loud and noisy, but that's what it's meant to be. Chamber
Table coming up on Tuesday, January 28th, 11:30 to 1.
We have a couple of these. We have one every month, a couple of them coming up. This is just a way, you're going to eat lunch, come meet some folks, sit down and eat lunch with them and make some new connections, go to a restaurant you maybe haven't been to before, support the local folks. It's a connections event, networking connections event, not to be missed.
And again, we're talking about Connection Chamber 101 that's coming up on January the 3rd, Thursday, January 30th at 3:30.
That's a way to learn about what the Chamber can do for you, what the benefits are, what the advantages are. So if you're thinking about joining the Chamber, this complimentary event that kind of runs through everything. And it's really good for members who've been around for a while to get refreshed because there's new things all the time.
Coast Young Professionals, as we have had many conversations on this show, have been phenomenally important to the coast and engaging young leaders that we would not have had a way to engage them in the way that we can engage with them today. But their annual meeting, the headline on it is called the Launch Annual Meeting for Coast Young Professionals, coming up on February the 6th, Thursday. But that's a very special event, isn't it?
Well, it's a good kickoff for the year. And it's also a recap of the previous year. So you can, feel good about the accomplishments, what's coming up moving forward. There's a couple of awards given out. It kind of just kicks off the year for the young professionals to really start their path of the impact they're going to have over the course of the year. And then, of course, I'll mention quickly the annual meeting.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, our annual meeting has gotten up now to be about 550, 600 people at this event. We passed the gavel. Eric Chambliss with Community Banks finished up his term. We have Jacavius Pickett with Ingalls Shipbuilding is coming in, has gotten started. And we give the Pat Santucci Spirit of the Coast Award, which is really a way to say, I really acknowledge someone who's given of themselves and of their lives, to be an important part of the coast to make a difference. And everybody from, you and Dave Dennis, and we had, of course, Roland Weeks, George Slogel, some folks that have passed, Liz Joachim, Karen Sock. I mean, just a whole host of folks. And so you got to come to the meeting to see who it is this year. We got a good one.
This is always exciting, and I'm looking forward. I read about your new chairman of the board, and he's involved in a number of efforts at Ingalls, but including how employees engage with the community. So, I can't think of maybe a better chamber chairman to have than someone whose professional goals are to engage with the community.
Yes. Yeah, Jacavius has been involved with the chamber. He was chair of Leadership Gulf Coast. He was a program chair for Leadership Gulf Coast. Been on that board. He was chair of Coast Young Professionals. Really been involved. He's a pastor as well, so he's got sort of that side of his life. But he's been in Ingalls for several years and just making a path forward on how to help them keep folks engaged there, their employees, and get new folks. They're always looking, that's a workforce development that never stops. They're always looking for folks. And it's just crucial that they have those folks not only for their business, but for our national defense.
No doubt about it. And then one other thing on my list is another chamber table coming up a little bit later. Give us the details on that one.
Yeah, I think we have one coming up at Island View. This is a combo between Gulfport and Biloxi doing it together. So it'll be at the restaurant there at Island View, kind of meeting a little bit on the city line. Last year we had about 40 people attend that. So it's just, again, how you're going to meet some new folks, new business connections, and help you expand your resources. And that's just the beginning. That's January and February. We're planning throughout the course of the year. We got Salute to the Military already on the books. We got State of the County already on the books. Other big events, Seafood Festival, Taste, Rattle, and Roll, all that. We planned for the whole year, and now we got to make it happen.
Plenty to do. Hey, listen, one other point on the legislative reception, the Coast Chamber is actually a partner in that effort. And if it weren't for private business investment in that and participation in that, it wouldn't be complete, would it?
Oh, absolutely. That event cost about $45,000 to $48,000 to put on. And, people think, oh, well, how can it cost that much? So much of the food is donated by local restaurants, which we absolutely appreciate and need because we want to show, what we have here on the coast, what we're so proud of on the coast. But everything from, the space to the bussers to the bartenders to everything. And so local businesses put up their money to make that happen. That's where that $48,000 comes from, is generally the business community. Because they see the importance of having those legislators all together in one room to see what the coast has to offer.
Okay, we're visiting with Adele Lyons. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We're visiting with my friend Adele Lyons from the Coast Chamber. And Adele is just been a longtime friend in the community. I love catching up with her. As we were chatting during the break, we probably need to get together more often, but we sometimes can't get our calendar straight. So we'll promise to try to come up to speed a little bit quicker as we go forward in 2025. Hey, Adele, it's been 5 years. 5 years in January since I started doing this show. Can you believe that? Over 1,400 conversations.
No, I remember going into the studio where we sat there across from each other chit-chatting. And I remember I really prepped. For the first one. I had all kind of stuff with me, which I always do. I always have some information ready. So, I sound knowledgeable. But over the years, it's more than it's a casual conversation. So I don't need to really get myself lined up for it.
Well, it was pretty intimidating. Yeah, when we first started the show, it was very intimidating because in the first month or two, it was live shows from the studio. And I remember that your show's about to start, we're about 10 minutes from the show starting. Guests have to pull up and park in the front, come into the front and then work their way back to the studio. And, here we are 10 minutes to the show starts. They're supposed to be here 20 minutes ago. They're not here yet. And I'm thinking to myself, because I'm not a radio guy. When I was with the Sun Herald, I had lots of conversations, but then I came to appreciate it. I mean, it was good for us to have that experience. We were always going to do them remotely like we're doing them today. But then COVID hit. And we went from doing studio shows to doing them remotely overnight. And we never looked back after that. That's just the way it's been. But I look back, and I said in the beginning, I knew that it was going to be important. The show was going to be important because we were capturing a lot of stalwart leaders. The conversations that I had with George Schlogel are priceless now, obviously. Having the opportunity to have detailed conversation with people like Jerry St. Pei and Roland Weeks and, Chevis Sweatman and a long list of others. I had that now. So, the ability to draw on that and the content, and you know this about me, but I take copious notes from every conversation. The content that I've developed over 1,400 conversations is enormous. So I could write a book many times over. But there's been a terrific lesson here. It's been about, legacy is about what you leave behind, what continues to happen after you're gone. It's not necessarily any, your name being attached to it, which George Schlogel pointed out. It's about getting in the arena, people having conversations with people who are willing to get in the arena and why that's so darn important. And there's a very significant underlying message here about volunteerism. The number of people who are willing to give their time and energy to make good things happen in the community. There's so many other lessons, but those are some that I've literally written about recently. But 5 years is crazy. So if someone were interested in being involved in the chamber, what should they do?
Well, I will tell you, the chamber is not for every business. We have some people that will call us and reach out, and they're just getting their concept together. They're just at the beginning stages. And sometimes that is a good time to join the chamber to start really, setting some seeds and getting to know the community. But sometimes they really need to concentrate on getting that business started and come back to us later when they're about to really open the doors or get their service underway. The chamber membership there's a lot of different pieces and parts to it for what makes sense for you. So for a small retail business, a ribbon cutting is something that just brings attention to them immediately. We go Facebook Live or we do a production video so people can see what's there. They can hear about the products or services. If somebody's a service business, they generally probably want to make some more connections in the community and meet other people, potential customers, potential vendors that they can rely on as well. We've added some things like our small business grants have been around for a number of years. Businesses are always looking for money. I mean, it's just they need it. They're trying to find ways to grow their business, and sometimes things that really are necessary to their business becomes somewhat of a luxury from not having the money to pay for it. So to get a small business grant for $500 or $1,000 to help you with signage or printing materials, maybe you've been doing something in-house and you want to take it to that next professional level. Those small business grants can really give people that opportunity to move forward and grow their business. That's really what it's all about, growing and sustaining their business, which create jobs in the community. The money churns and rolls in the community. For big companies, they are a lot of times it's for CYP or Leadership Gulf Coast can be a training ground for some large companies and their employees. So it sort of depends. We've got a little bit of everything that can help folks. We have a lot of training programs, professional development that can be helpful, particularly small businesses who don't have a training department. They can rely on that to be their training for the year.
So the long and short of it is there's a lot to get from it, and you will get what you give, and you put the energy in it. I thought this spa the workout gym was a great analogy.
Yeah.
Because you're not, if you don't flex the muscles, you got to go in there and do the work. But if you do, you'll build some really good community muscle that helps us all.
So folks can either go online to learn more about us. They can give us a call. Stop by the office. We still love having people stop by.
Yeah, no doubt. This has been Adele Lyons, the CEO of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber of Commerce. It's been a pleasure, Adele.
Good to see you.
Have a great day.